Hello everyone and welcome to the first part, the start of a genealogy of the Holy War playthrough. I really like genealogy. This is one of my favorite games in the series. So I have been looking forward to this. This is not just going to be a boring playthrough though. We're going to be going for ranks. We're going to be following those ranks people talk about sometimes, or when I say people I mean me and like 3 other people. Because I think they are fun. I like trying to get the ranks in this game. I think they're a pretty fun challenge to go for. But not just those, I'm going to make it even better. We're going to do it with the substitute units in Gen 2. So Gen 1's going to play mostly out the same as a normal playthrough would, but we're going to be using the substitutes in Gen 2. To anyone who doesn't know what the substitutes are, I'll kind of get more into detail on how they work and what they are later throughout the playthrough. I'll also get more into how the ranks work just a little bit later at some point. Just for preface, so I don't bog down the first video with a to-do list of how everything works. Basically, play the game fast, get level ups, keep people alive. Those are kind of the big 3 you need to follow in order to get all the rankings and everything. I also want to talk about how different units work in ranked, how different they feel in ranked, how easy they're going to be to level up, and all of that. So I don't just want to bog down the first part with info dumping, even though I'm sure a lot of you could listen to me info dump about units for a long while. But I'm ready to get started. I've wanted to do this run since back whenever I did the FE7 with FE6 units run, or back during the Gaiden run. I have been waiting a long time to jump into this. Just like with any new series, if the volume sounds a little bit off, feel free to point out whether something needs to get louder, something needs to get quieter. I am open to the input. I want it to sound as best as it possibly can. Now, FE4 is a bit of a weird one. I would say this is probably the most different game in the series out of all of them. Echoes and Gaiden are kind of different in how they play and how they feel, but FE4 is very, very different in a lot of interesting ways. And I like a lot of differences. I like a lot of the weird quirks that makes FE4 itself. It's definitely a very different feeling game, and I think it's worth giving it a try. So hopefully, throughout this playthrough, I can show you how awesome this game is to let you all give it a try. The first thing you should do for every Fire Emblem game is set your settings to what you like. Enemy speed fast. Now, as for the auto-saving, I'll get to that in just a sec, because this game has an auto-save feature, and I'll get into how I'm going to handle that in a sec. So look, big maps that sprawl everywhere. That's one of the first things everyone points to every time the idea of FE4 is brought up. Everyone points out the maps are large, multiple castles to seize, and maps just happen to take a long time because of that, even though there's only 12 chapters in the game because of it. So what I want to do, FE4 usually has an autosave feature where you can choose every turn. It'll let you create like a little autosave at the end of every turn. So if I set this to file 4 or whatever, you can also save before you move to any of your units. So for example, I can go in here and just create a save point right here. That way if I want to, those buttons, if I want to restart, we can start right off the turn that we just saved at. And if you turn the autosave on, so like I have the autosave set to file 4 at the end of the phase, I'll just kind of speed through this real quick just so I can show off how the autosave works. Get to the end of the enemy phase, it allows you to save your progress. And then whenever we reset, that has our autosave right down there. Nope, I actually did not mean to pick that. Now, when it comes to the autosave, I think one of the rankings throughout the playthrough is you have to keep your units from dying, of course. But there's 2 separate ranks that go alongside your units dying. I think I want to do like a standalone video on its own, kind of talking about how the ranks work, potential pairings you should do for your rankings. I kind of want to do that in its own video, so that's a project I want to work on at some point, and we'll see when it eventually goes up. But basically, when a unit dies, the game remembers it. The game will remember that your unit reached 0 HP at one point, and you have to reset the whole chapter back from the crawl, like the story crawl, to get rid of the death. I don't have time for that. I don't have the energy for that. I have too many other things I want to do, too many other games I want to play. So the rule instead that I want to go for is every time I seize a castle, I'm going to create a save state. And if someone dies later, I'll just load back to the last castle that I saved. So I'll treat the castles like chapter endpoints in a different Fire Emblem game where you can just load every time you complete like an objective or whatever. So I don't want to use like rewind for rigging stuff. I don't want to use like save states in the middle of maps to try to rig stuff. Because I kind of want to I just want to play it out. I like just kind of playing out whatever happens. Now I know I still have not moved a single unit, but I need to talk about the units that we have so far. So we will start with, I'm using a controller I'm not usually used to, so you'll have to give me a sec. There we go. You've probably heard of this guy. You've probably heard of Sigurd. You probably know that he is really, really good. This is a very strong unit. He kills things and has 9 movement and Canto and can use swords. He's kind of he's really awesome. He has really good growth rates, so he keeps growing steadily. He gets a silver sword partway through the chapter that is almost his PRF. Technically other people can use it, but he's going to be the one using it really. Sigurd is the ultimate example of snowballing, where a unit is good, so they get resources, they get EXP and money, meaning that they can get stronger, meaning they stay good. This unit can do a lot of things by himself, and he'll be fine. He's not invincible. He's not as invincible as a lot of people seem to think he is, but he's a really good unit. This is a very strong. This is one of the strongest units. I'm not very aware with like Awakening Onwards units on how they relate to other units, but pre-Awakening, this is definitely one of the strongest units ever, just because of how this game works and how it rewards being a good unit. It also helps that he has this silly little skill. A lot of people know this, but just in case you don't, you need the skill Pursuit in order to double in this game. If you have higher speed than your opponent, just by 1 AS, you will double if you have the Pursuit skill. If you do not have Pursuit, you cannot double. I don't mind this. I don't think this is as big of a detriment or as big of a wall for whether units can be good or not as it initially seems. Other units have tools for getting around not having Pursuit. So I think it's worth giving a try instead of just writing off some units for not having Pursuit. But that's almost everything I want to say about Sigurd. He's good and he gets better. That is the best way I can sum him up. Let's talk about Noish first. This unit, this is our Red Cav of the playthrough. He is pretty nice. Being a Cavalier is good in this game because there are a lot of road tiles you can cross. There's huge distances between you need to go. So having 8 or 9 move is pretty good. Noish has better strength, as you can see. He has like a 40% strength growth. He has only a 20% speed growth, but in this game, your speed stat isn't as important as other games. It all comes down to how heavy your weapon is, because swords are only 3 weight, so you're pretty much going to double anything that is using a lance or heavier. Or at least he would. He doesn't have Pursuit, though. But you have ways to work around it. You'll get tools later that help him work around not having Pursuit. You get a Pursuit ring at one point that grants Pursuit when equipped. He can also just use Brave Weapons, and he'll hit fairly hard with those. Instead, he has the critical skill, because in this game you cannot crit unless you have the critical skill. So instead of being able to attack twice, Noish will sometimes hit twice as hard. He also has a cost, which is definitely a skill. It compares yours and the enemy's AS plus like half your current HP, and it's a % chance that you will do another round of battle, meaning you'll swing again, the enemy will swing again. This can proc a lot of times, and it won't proc if you're below, I believe it's 25 HP? 25, 26 HP. It's to keep you from proccing a cost and then just immediately dying because of it. Here it is. If user has 25 or HP or higher, it procs. So if you're below 25 HP, you don't have to worry about a cost killing one of your units. Also, weapon ranks are set in this game, so he has B swords, C lances, because that's what cavaliers have. These are pretty decent. Gives you access to Brave Sword, gives you Javelin, Iron Lance. He kind of doesn't hold up super well all the way up into the final chapters, but if you give him a Pursuit Band and or a Brave Weapon, he can be pretty nice, and I think he's a good candidate for those. Over here we have Alec, who is our green cav of the day. As you can see, more speed than strength. He has Pursuit, so he gets to double things, whereas Noise just hits things hard one time. Alec will swing twice at them. He also has Night Heal, which almost does something in this game. It makes you immune to criticals, which not a lot of enemies actually have critical weapons or skills. It blocks sword skills, so like Astra Luna and shoot, what's the other one? Soul, which almost no enemies have those. And the crippling hits is referring to like Rider's Banes, which I think there's 2 enemy Rider's Banes in the game. There might be 1 or 2 more that I'm thinking of, but it sounds like a really cool skill, but since there's not a lot of skills in this game in general, Night Heal just doesn't really come up that often as a skill that you really need on a unit. But it has its use cases. There is somewhere in the next map where we will be getting a lot of really good use out of Night Heal, and I'm looking forward to showing that off. Same as Noish, B-Sword, C-Lance. Alec's biggest issue, really, is you gotta get this Iron Sword off of him. If you can get this guy a Steel Sword, or a Steel Lance after promotion, it really helps his damage output, helps him keep hitting things pretty hard. But you gotta get this weak little Iron Sword off of him so we can actually keep his damage output up. And lastly, our joke unit, our Arden. I love this guy. I love this unit. He is not good. He is not great. 5 movement, death sentence in this game. It's going to be really hard for him to keep up. He has B-Sword, so he can use Braves, stuff like that. Vantage, which is interesting. I've never really gotten much use out of this because enemy HP ends up being so high that I find that I can never really kill things before Vantage takes... Like, I can never kill things before they counter me. So I've never gotten really good use out of Vantage, but there's some use cases for it. Otherwise, I don't really have very much to say about this guy. You just kind of... You move him forwards, and you kill things. Because of how the rankings work, I'm going to train him. Everyone needs to get to a pretty decent level in order to get the EXP rank. Again, I'll talk more about that somewhere else, so I don't have to info dump all of it here. But now that we are, 15 minutes into the video, I can actually start moving my units. So our first objective is we have to go down here to this castle, because this guy is here, and we have to keep this boy, we have to go save him. Now what I like to do... Oh, something I didn't mention was Sigurd. He has 2 leadership stars. For the leadership, I've seen conflicting answers on how these work, but going off of Serena's, the first leadership star doesn't do anything, and then each additional star gives you 10 more hit and avoid. Let me double check myself again, because I think I check Serena's every single time. I think I closed my tab that I had it on. Genealogy calculations. Because they do not work like Thracia leadership stars. They are different. Leadership bonus. 10 for 2 leadership stars, 20 for 3, 30 for 4, 40 for 5. So yeah, the first leadership star doesn't do anything, and then it's 10 leadership for each additional star. And instead of like Thracia, where it's global, it's just the 3 tiles around Sigurd. So you kind of want to keep him in the middle of your action to help grant leadership to those who need it. Which is why we're going to run Sigurd here turn 1. We're not going to worry about fighting this guy with you. Instead, we're going to have Alec give him a little bit of a whack. Also, this game has some of the best player phase attack music in the series. And look at just how much HP this first enemy we have is. This is the first enemy you do combat with, and he has 36 HP. Enemy HP is really high in this game. But these guys are just set up, so if you attack first with Alec, you can finish with Noish, and he doesn't have to take a counter. It's so beautifully set up. I love this. And you can move Sigurd at his full movement, and he'll be in leadership range for both of them. As for Arden, we are going to depart off the castle and begin our march. There is no auto end turn, so you kind of just have to wait until you move all your units, hit end. I'm not really going to be reading a lot of the story or like going over the individual dialogues unless it's something that I really like, because there's going to be a lot to get through, so we're going to move it just a little bit. And once you get further into the game, there's not going to be as much dialogue per like individual castle sequence. This one's just kind of helping set up everything that's happening and why we need to go to Jungbi to save ID. There's also going to be, I'm probably going to be using different names from what is considered the canon names now. I know Fire Emblem Heroes has given a lot of canon names to units, but I'm probably going to end up using the ones that I'm used to. So if you hear me call someone a name that you don't recognize, that's probably why. Not only do we get the best player phase attack music in the game, we also get the best enemy phase music here. Or at least one of them. This guy's going to attack Alec. And look, because of leadership, we get 10 extra hit and avoid. So it would have been 42 hit. Now, normally, it's really easy to just barrel forwards with Sigurd and just have him kill everything, but we can't do that. We need to share our EXP. Now we have these brigands that are running around to go start burning down villages. Hey, we'll talk about you two in just a sec. So the way villages work is instead of just being houses that are destroyed once a brigand gets to it, you notice it burned down a piece of a house. Next turn, he'll burn down this into rubble. Then he'll start on this one. And he'll keep going until all of these are burned away. So you have, what is that, 2, 4, 6, 8? You have like 10 turns until a village is completely burned down. But every turn where a piece gets burned away, the total village gold pool that it'll give you, because villages give you 5,000 gold if you visit them, it loses 500 gold every time a piece is burned down. And some villages have treasure inside of them. So for example, this village down here, alongside the extra gold it gives you, will also give you an item. So you want to get rid of these guys before they start getting rid of too much gold, because we're going to need a lot of gold in this playthrough. And speaking of gold, everyone has their own gold pool. Everyone has their own funds rank to keep up with. So you have to divvy out your money between your units properly so that way everyone can buy what they need. Now we're going to have Arden go beat up this guy real quick. Now just like Thracia, you have to do all the calcs yourself. You have to do the attack minus defense. You can't just let the game tell you. And we're just going to leave Arden to that guy. We're gonna let him do his own thing. Meanwhile, I'm going to go send... I want to get money on Noish first, because I want him to be able to buy stuff later. So I think what I want to do... could attack from here, or the village for the extra void. I think we're going to attack from here just for the extra void. Now, something else about this game that's really different that also needs to be explained are the road tiles. So some of these tiles, the kind of more, I don't know what color you'd call this, brownish, beige-ish tiles are road tiles. And for every 3 road tiles you cross, you get another point of movement. Which is why if you pull up like Sigurd's movement, it looks really bizarre. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's why he can move 12 tiles in one turn, just because he's walking on so many road tiles. Which is some of why also having big movement is exponentially good in this game, because a 9 movement unit can go up to 12 with road tiles, whereas a 5 move unit can only go up to 7 move. So just having more movement makes you exponentially better at moving, too. I think we're going to have Noish run up. Oh, another thing with road is you lose 10 avoid when you're on them. So that's kind of your trade-off. You get to run on road tiles for extra movement, but if you wait on one, then you have minus 10 avoid, because you're an easier target to hit. So 21. This doesn't kill. So I think we're going to do like... Oh, no, wait, that does kill. Let's look at the attack stat. All right, this is also perfectly set up to kill. I do want to give the EXP to Alec, but I'd rather give the money to Noish. And I think this was the first game in the series to have Kanto. You can move again after you attack stuff, kind of like in Tellius or Three Houses. The difference is if you have multiple weapon types or multiple weapons, you can like change your weapon out after you attack something, which is incredibly busted. But you can also visit a village afterwards. There we go, 4,500 gold gets. And we can start building up towards getting more money. I'm going to lead this guy, because I find in most playthroughs, he just chooses to attack Arden instead of capturing your home castle. If this is the one run where he chooses to capture the home castle instead, I will be very upset. Sigurd, now we get to see our first round of combat using Sigurd. And, yeah, this is pretty much the worst Sigurd's going to be throughout the entire game. He just gets better from here. I don't think this is a road tile. Yeah, it's not.